G'day team, I'm Coach Ray. I'm a marathon and half marathon running coach who specialises in coaching beginner and recreational athletes to achieve their sporting as well as their health and fitness goals. In today's short video, I'm going to take you through the Rotorua Half Marathon course. I've got some pacing tips and some details of the course to help anyone running the event next week to help them through and achieve their best. So this video is for anyone running the Rotorua Half Marathon next week. What you'll learn is course insights, pacing advice, and performance tips. So overview of the course starts out at Okarere Falls, comes running in towards town, joining the full course and carrying on past the turnoff on State Highway 30 to Whakatane, carrying on past the airport, past the turnoff to Blue Lakes, through the centre of town, and then finishing lakeside, basically outside the Novotel. It's a new course for the half marathon this year, with the start out at Okarere. You get some great views along Lake Rotoiti, and then obviously the second half, well, roughly the second half of the full marathon, and then finishing with the lakeside finish. If you look at the topography, we'll see we've got Heartbreak Hill. It's coming in early for the half marathon runners. It's towards the later half of the race for the full. But then it's a relatively flat with some slight incline and then pretty much downhill to the finish line. That's one of the things I really enjoy. Once you sort of get past the airport, it's typically downhill and there's nothing too much to worry about on the rest of the way and make the most of it. So general strategy for the course is consistent effort. Have a conservative start and build your pace through the event before finishing strong. One of the things I recommend typically to my athletes is what I call the 1/3 pacing strategy. Run the first third of the event or the first 7 kilometers at a steady pace. Now, the first aid station is roughly at the 7K mark. It's slightly before it, just after Moria Hill, often called Heartbreak Hill. The second 7 kilometers of the run, pick the pace up, run slightly faster, and that's running through to the third aid station by the airport. And then the final 7 kilometers or the final third of the race of the event, run at the fastest pace you can run. If you manage to follow this strategy, you are going to have a negative split. The second half of the run is going to be faster than the first. You're going to finish feeling good, overtaking people, mentally refreshing, and will get you a fantastic result. Now, if you get close to start making your way through town, finding yourself relatively fresh in the final few kilometers, you can increase the pace a little bit more and make the most of feeling fresh. Those of you aiming to run a sub 2 hour strategy, you need to be averaging 5 minutes and 41 per kilometer. So stay calm, keep it steady at the start of the race. Focus on your cadence and a nice tall posture. That tall posture helps keep the airway open, lets get air and more importantly, oxygen into the lungs so it keeps you fresher throughout the event. Run your own race. Don't get swept up early. And so this photo here is one of my athletes' humps. That's me running with him in Ultraman in Australia. So a 3-day triathlon, and on the last day, he had a double marathon to run. I ran a large portion of it. I didn't run the whole way with him. Tagged in and out with other support crew members. And that's a strategy we used with him. Staying calm, staying steady. Day 3 of his racing. He ran his own race, and part of the reason why I paced him particularly early on was to hold his pace back. He had a long way to run, a double marathon. You've only got a half marathon to do, and to help get that 2 hour time goal, run your own race. Don't get swept up too early. My recommendation using the thirds rule, the first 7 kilometers, aim for about 550 minutes per kilometer. The second 7 kilometers, aim for 540 per kilometer. And then the final third of the race, aim for 530. So you're picking that pace up as you make your way through. Also, keep an eye out for the paces. They'll have balloons And so you can see, make sure you line up with the correct pacing group, and they will ensure that you achieve your sub 2 hour goal. If you're aiming for a sub 150, you need to maintain 5 minutes and 12 seconds per kilometer. Don't try and bank some time. Don't try and go out fast. Stick to the pace that you need. All my recommendations. So if you're going for an even pace, aim for 5:12 right from the outset. If you want to stick to my pacing strategy, stick to those goals right from the outset. Stay strong through the aid stations. Watch your pace drift later in the race. Don't let it drift off. So for the first 7 kilometers, aim for 5 minutes 20 per kilometer. In the middle third of the event, aim for 5 minutes 10 per kilometer. And then the final 7 kilometers, aim for the 5 minutes flat each kilometer and finish strong. And that's Jason, one of my athletes. That's him competing down in Wanaka. Here's me actually. That is the finish line of the Woodburn Half Marathon a few moons ago. This is aiming for a sub 1 hour 40 strategy. You need to be aiming at 4:44 per kilometer. You'll need to stay relaxed early and you'll need to hold that rhythm. Use groups of people if possible. And if I just go back to the 150, there's also a pace group for 150. So keep an eye out for them. Run with that pace group to achieve that goal. Use groups if possible, and there will be a group to run one sub 140 for you. Once again, focus on that last 5 kilometers. That's going to be your key to finish strong. But my pacing strategy, the 1/3 method, start with the first 7 kilometers at 4:55 minutes per kilometer. The middle third, aim for 4:45 and then pick it up to 4:35 for the final third of the event. Once again, pacing group available for the sub 140. Now, there is no pacing group for the sub 130. This is Jess. I don't know what happened with her hand in that photo there. Trust me, she's got both hands and she is very fast, regularly run. Actually, I don't think she's ran. She might have when she was 14 or before I started coaching her, ran a slower than 130 pace. I stopped her running half marathons for the first few years of coaching her, got her to focus on shorter and faster running, and now she just smashes the half marathons out in under 130 constantly. To achieve your sub 130, there is no pace group for this in Rotorua, so you need a controlled start, a strong middle, and a tough finish. And my strategy, as I've talked about before, for the sub 130, you need to average 4:15 per kilometer. But if we're aiming to go through that progressive 1/3 pacing strategy, the first 7 kilometers, you need to be ticking over at 4:25. Keep that consistent, then pick it up to 4:15 minutes per kilometer through the middle third. And then the final 7 kilometers, you're aiming for 4:05 for each and every kilometer. Finish strong. At this level, if you're following a heart rate or power suggestions, stick with them based on what your coach has recommended. And if you haven't got a coach, feel free to touch base with me. If you watch this enough time prior, I might be in a position to give you some guidance. Send me a message. The details of how to contact me are in the description and in the final slide. Now, I touched on the fact there is no pace group for sub 130, so don't go looking for it unless something's magically been put together in the last week. Anyway, some mental tips for race day success. One of the things I recommend for all my athletes is to use my self-psych form. This is a form that you download, print it off. I highly recommend having a hard copy, pen and paper, sit down the night before, 2 nights before the race, in a quiet space where you've got no distractions. Spend 20 to 30 minutes just working through it, answering each question. It'll help develop your race plan in your head. It helps you set your expectations for the race and help you visualize the successful race unfolding. It's going to increase your chance of achieving your goals. And I've got a link down in the description and you can just download that for free. Also, utilize mantras. Top 2 inches really play an important role in achieving your goals. Going gets tough, tough get going. Short little catchy phrases that you can repeat to yourself to remind you what your goals are, what you want to achieve. Doesn't need to be lyrics to a song or anything like that. It needs to be important to you, something that you can remember easily and you can utilize it over and over again. That ease of remembering is going to be important. And also breaking the race into the chunks. That first 7Ks is a good one, or even extending it a little bit further out to the turnoff on State Highway 30. Once you're past that, the next one you can use is the airport. The next one you can use the turnoff to Blue Lakes, and then you don't have too far to go by breaking it into those chunks. The old adage, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And by having a small amount regularly, breaking that into the race into those chunks can help you tick those off mentally as you make your way through. You could even have 21.1 chunks, and every kilometre is marked on the course. You can tick that off mentally. All right, so nutrition and hydration. On the course, you'll find R-Line Electrolyte, fantastic New Zealand-based product, gives you plenty of get up and go. Also at the aid stations, you'll find Coca-Cola, as well as the good old classic water. My recommendations around Coca-Cola, avoid it unless you really hit the wall. And that's probably going to be more important for someone doing the marathon than the half marathon. If you do find yourself hitting the wall, go for the Coca-Cola. The sugar content in it is key to getting you up and going, but the caffeine goes great. Otherwise, stick to water and or the electrolytes. They're going to be a lot better for you. Electrolyte providing you both minerals as well as some sugar to help lift your performance. If it's a hot day, you are going to need to have a little bit more fluid. Whether you get that from the water or electrolyte, it doesn't matter. A windy day can slow you down, mean you're out on course a little bit longer, so topping up on that fluid can also be important. There are 5 aid stations through the event. Now, some events have them really specifically spaced at key times. Rotorua, it's structured so they put them in places where it's safe and convenient for you. So the spacing's not precisely every 6.5 kilometers or something like that. The breakdown is the first one 6.7 kilometers in. The second aid station is at 9 kilometers. The third one is at 13.6. The fourth aid station is 16.1. And the final aid station before the finish is at the 18.5 kilometer mark. So make the use of them as you go through them. It's an opportunity for you to keep topping up with your fuel and staying hydrated, especially on those hot days. Race morning checklists and logistics. Now you're going to need to catch a bus out to the start line. Make sure you've got your running shoes, your cap, sunglasses if you wear them, and very important, your race number. You can use a bag drop. I need to double check that race number has a bag label. That might be a hangover from a previous PowerPoint. I'm not 100% sure on that for Rotorua, but it makes it easy, if they do, for your gear collection after you've got to the finish line. Your warm-up you do for the event is going to depend on what your goal is. If you've got a recreational goal, use the first few kilometers to warm up. If you wanted to run a really fast time, have a thorough warm-up and make sure you're ready to go. As with every race start, there's going to be queues for the toilets. Go early is my advice. Go before you leave to go to the start line, and then go again as soon as you get to the start line. Hopefully, your bladder will be empty enough and you can make the most of the event without having to stop and use a portaloo along the route. The start time is at 7:45. My recommendation is to be in a good position on the start line about 7:40, 5 minutes to go. Find other people running about your pace. Look for those pace groups. Position yourself appropriately based on them. And there should also be some signage indicating where to line up for your expected finish time. Now, the final kilometers, and to ensure you finish strong, dig deep in those final few kilometers. As you get into town, start picking up the pace a little bit more. And then when you get to that 1 kilometer to go mark, give it everything you've got. Keep an eye out for the 20 kilometer mark. That's going to be 1.1 kilometre go. Close enough. Give everything you've got for that final kilometre. And like I said, use those aid stations as reference points. The 7 kilometre, the first aid station after Morea Hill, it's a little bit short of the 7 kilometre mark, but 6.7 kilometres is close enough. And then the 14 kilometre mark, it's really 13.6. But once again, close enough. Have that strong, long finish, and it's generally downhill from the airport anyway. So, if you want to smash your next half marathon, I've got both 10 and 20 week training plans to optimize your performance, whether you're aiming for the sub 1:30 time or sub 2 hours or one of those key times in between. I've got a training plan option for you. If you want a dedicated, specific strength training plan to complement your run training, I've got my Run Strong training plan. Build strength for faster, more efficient running. I've got a 12-week version where it includes 3 gym sessions each week. Links for all these are down in the description. And if you're looking to do the Queenstown Half Marathon as well, join the Qwik Kiwi Squad. 24-week training plan. It starts on 2nd of June. Keep an eye out for that promotion coming in the near future. And if you want something more personalized, send me a direct message on Instagram at coach_ray_NZ. I'm easy to find on Facebook, or send me an email to coachray@coachray.nz. I've got options to help build your fitness in time, regardless of what event you are doing next. All the best to everyone who's competing, participating, or just taking part in the Rotorua Half Marathon. Let me know how you get on in the comments. Let me know if you found this helpful for achieving your performance. And don't forget to download the self-psych form to help set you up for success with your race plan.